Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
So today we are taking a deep dive into the work of one of history's most influential spiritual teachers, Swami Vivekananda.
An absolute giant.
And specifically, we're zoning in on this really intense intellectual path he articulated. It's called Jnana Yoga.
Yeah. And it's more than just a school of thought, right? It's a whole spiritual discipline.
Right.
Vivekananda famously organized the path to, self-realization into four main yogas: karma,
Yeah.
bhakti, raja, and the one we're on today, jnana.
And it helps to think of them in terms of, well, function.
It does. If karma yoga is the path of the hands, action,
Bhakti is the heart, devotion.
and raja yoga is the body and mind, meditation.
Then Jnana Yoga is, without a doubt, the path of the head.
100%.
This is for the ruthless analyst, the seeker who really demands proof, the person who believes that if they can just reason their way to the ultimate truth, they'll be liberated.
It is a profoundly intellectual journey.
So our mission today is to distill the core philosophical bedrock that underpins this whole thing, Advaita Vedanta. We want to give you a really comprehensive understanding of its structure, its challenges, and, its ultimate promise.
And we have to begin with the one concept that holds this entire system together. It's non-dualism, or Advaita.
Which literally means?
Not two. The fundamental premise of Jnana Yoga is just that, the absolute unity of all existence.
That is a staggering place to start. I mean, if you boil the entire universe down to one single thing, what is that one thing called in this philosophy?
That one thing is Brahman.
Brahman.
It's the ultimate reality. It's
Right.
infinite, non-dual, no beginning, no end. And our sources use three essential Sanskrit terms to really describe its nature.
Okay.
First is Sat, which is pure existence. Then Chit, pure consciousness.
Yeah.
And finally Ananda, pure bliss.
So, being consciousness bliss.
Pure, limitless being consciousness bliss. If you want an analogy, Brahman is the ocean.
Right. Okay. So, if Brahman is this infinite ocean of reality, then where do I fit in? Where does the listener fit in? Because I can tell you, I definitely don't feel like pure, limitless bliss when I'm, stuck in traffic.
And that's where the individual self comes in, the Atman.
The Atman.
The Atman is your true, eternal essence. But, and this is crucial, the sources are so clear that the Atman is not the body you're in,
Or the mind.
or the mind generating your thoughts, or the ego that gives you your personality for a few decades. The Atman is the internal, unchanging consciousness that just witnesses all of those things. It's the wave.
Okay. I like that. So, if Brahman is the ocean and Atman is the wave, they look different, they seem to act differently.
But fundamentally, they are made of the exact same stuff, water. There is no actual separation.
Precisely. And so the whole philosophical goal of Jnana Yoga is moksha, liberation, which is achieved by realizing that truth.
The wave realizes it was always the ocean.
And this specific identity is what the Upanishadic texts, which are the core sources here, are so famous for hammering home.
Absolutely. Vivekananda really leaned on these huge statements, the Mahavakyas.
Like,
The most famous is probably Tat Tivamasi.
you are that.
You are that. Or another one, Aham Brahmasmi, which is I am Brahman. And these aren't just, poetic flourishes. Within this philosophy, they're statements of existential fact.
And it's a really big claim, though, to say that unity is the necessary conclusion of all reasoning. I mean, are the sources ready to handle thinkers who argue for dualism? That mind and matter are just separate, period?
Oh, Vivekananda was very clear on this. He argued that if you propose two ultimate causes for the universe, you haven't solved anything.
You've just kicked the can down the road.
You've just created two separate, unexplainable infinities.
Yeah.
He said, and I'm quoting here, unity is the necessary conclusion of all reasoning. Logically, you have to arrive at a single non-dual source for everything.
This is where it gets really interesting for me, though. This is where the philosophical rubber meets the road. If everything is unified, divine, and ultimately Brahman, which you said is pure bliss, why are we all sitting here feeling separate and anxious and worried about, well, everything?
Yes.
If Atman is Brahman, why is there suffering?
That philosophical gap is explained by two primary concepts, Maya and Avidya.
Okay, Maya, we hear that translated all the time as just illusion.
In that translation, while it's partially correct, it really, really undersells its power. Maya is described as the power that creates the appearance of duality in the universe, in what's called the Jagat.
So it's what makes the world look divided?
Exactly. It makes us perceive a world of subject and object, of self and other. But here's the nuance. In Advaita, Maya isn't just a trick of the light. It's a creative power. It's what projects this temporary, ever-changing universe out of the one non-dual Brahman.
Wait, hold on. How can an illusion be a creative power? That sounds like a contradiction. How can nothing create everything?
And that is the ultimate paradox. See, Maya isn't unreal in the sense that it doesn't exist. The sources call it indescribable. It's not totally real because it vanishes once you realize Brahman.
But it's not totally unreal either.
Not at all, because we experience its effects every single moment. Think of it like a movie screen. Maya is the screen that the movie of the universe is being projected onto. That movie is real enough to make you laugh and cry.
But it's all just light and shadow.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, so if Maya is this universal projection of difference, then avidya is more personal. It's the internal flaw that keeps us trapped in that projection.
You got it. Avidya is ignorance. And it's identified as the single root cause of all human suffering. It's what causes us to misidentify.
So we look at the wave and believe it's only a wave.
Separate from the ocean. You mistakenly believe that you are your body or your thoughts or your job title instead of recognizing you are the eternal Atman.
And that feeling of separation leads directly to attachment, to fear, and therefore to suffering.
Precisely. Now, this means the universe we live in, the Jagat, is by its nature transient and impermanent. So to handle this, our sources make a really important philosophical distinction between two levels of reality.
Okay, let's talk about those levels because they seem key to the whole analytical approach of Jnana Yoga.
For sure. So first, you have Vyavaharika reality. This is the relative, transactional, day-to-day world we all experience. It's real enough for all practical purposes.
And the other?
The other is Paramarthika reality. That's the absolute perspective. That's the reality of non-duality.
Can we use an analogy just to make those heavy terms stick?
Of course. Imagine you're walking on a path at dusk and you see a coiled shape up ahead. Instantly, you think it's a venomous snake, and you freeze in absolute terror.
Okay.
That fear, that perception, that immediate reality where your heart is pounding. That is Vyavaharika. It's transactionally real enough to cause real suffering.
But then you shine a light on it.
But then you shine a flashlight on it, and you see. It's just a coiled piece of rope.
Yeah.
The snake was completely unreal from the absolute perspective, the Paramarthika. The rope was always just a rope.
So the world exists, we have to function in it, that's Vyavaharika, but a seeker has to constantly remember that it's ultimately just rope, not a snake.
That is the intellectual framework. And Vivekananda celebrated the intellect and reason as the flashlight, as crucial tools to start this investigation.
To analyze the snake and the rope.
Exactly. But he also issued a major warning. Reason alone cannot get you across the finish line.
Why not? If the whole premise is that unity is a necessary conclusion of all reasoning, shouldn't logic be enough?
Because reason can dismantle the false arguments, but it can't deliver the direct experience of unity. It's like if I give you a perfect, flawless chemical description of an apple.
I still haven't tasted it.
You still haven't tasted it. The final leap, that realization of I am Brahman, it has to be transformative and experiential. It can't just be a concept in your head. And that requires intense discipline. Which brings us to the actual practice.
Right. So if intellectual knowledge isn't enough on its own, what are the primary practices? What do you actually do to shatter Maya and overcome avidya, to turn the concept into a reality?
The central practice is atmavichara, self-inquiry.
Who am I?
Yes, but this is not, casual navel-gazing. It's a continuous, razor-sharp philosophical interrogation of your own existence. Who am I? You use that question like a surgical tool to just dismantle every false identity that comes up.
I'm a podcaster, I'm a father, I'm this memory.
And you keep asking who is aware of that.
Yeah.
It's a constant process of elimination. If I am not my job, not my car, not my thoughts, then what's left?
The pure witness, the
Yeah.
Atman.
The pure witness. This process relies on two complementary tools, viveka and vichara. Vichara is the inquiry itself, and viveka is discrimination. The ability to clearly, constantly distinguish the real, the eternal, from the unreal, the temporary.
Now, to even begin this path of intense discrimination and inquiry, the sources say you have to have a certain set of prerequisites. This is the barrier to entry, right? This is why Jnana Yoga is often called the steepest path.
Yes. These prerequisites are known as the Satana Chaptushtaya, the 4 pillars of knowledge, and the texts are clear. If you lack these, the intellectual practice will just spin its wheels and fail.
Oh, hey, let's really focus on these 4 pillars. Why are they so essential for the analytical seeker?
The first is viveka, that discrimination we just covered. You must have absolute clarity on what is permanent versus what is fleeting. The second is vairagya,
Detachment.
total detachment from worldly desires and pleasures. Since we've already established that the world, the Jagat, is only relatively real, the seeker had to cultivate a genuine indifference to its ups and downs.
That feels like a necessary step. If you're still completely obsessed with the snake, you're never going to see the rope.
You're never going to see the rope exactly.
Okay.
Now, the third pillar is the most complex. It's called Shat Sampati, the 6 virtues.
Okay.
We can basically group these as total inner and outer self-mastery. They demand shama, which is calmness of mind, and dhamma, self-control over the senses.
So no external distraction can pull you off course.
None. They also require titisha, which is endurance, and uparati, a kind of withdrawal from external duties to focus inward. It's about building an unshakable inner resilience.
That's the kind of self-discipline that would make a serious ascetic blush. It's total psychological lockdown.
It is discipline defined. And the last 2 virtues in this group are shraddha, which is faith in the teachings and the guide, and samadhana, intense one-pointed concentration. These 6 qualities are like the armor a jnani has to wear.
And the fourth and final pillar of the prerequisites,
That is mumukshutva,
which is
the intense, burning, singular longing for liberation. This path demands a lifetime of relentless intellectual and mental effort. Without that desperate, all-consuming desire for freedom, the seeker they'll give up.
So once a seeker has established those 4 pillars, the knowledge has to move from the lecture hall to, their nervous system. How does that intellectual truth become a lived realization?
It proceeds through 3 progressive stages of knowledge. Stage 1 is shravana, listening.
Hearing the teaching.
Diligently receiving the teachings, usually from sacred texts like the Upanishads or directly from a guru.
And you go home and you think about it deeply.
That is stage 2, Manana, reflection. This is where the analytical mind really gets to work. You question the teachings, you turn them over, you debate them internally.
Until there are no more doubts.
You intellectually integrate them until you've removed all the intellectual obstacles.
And the final, most transformative stage
is nididhyasana, meditative absorption. This is where the intellectual insights you gain through Shravana and Manana get internalized through deep, deep meditation and contemplation. And that leads to the direct, unshakable realization that Atman is Brahman.
Okay, let's bring this very high philosophy back down to earth for a minute. After all this intense discipline, what's the practical payoff? For the person who actually achieves this realization, what changes in their daily life?
The transformation it's total. For one, it leads to the profound benefit of absolute fearlessness.
Because if the core of your being is eternal, infinite, divine, then nothing material can really touch you. Not illness, not loss, not even death. Your identity is finally secure.
That is the ultimate security. The realization that you are the Atman cuts the root of all anxiety, and crucially, it instantly blossoms into universal love and compassion.
How so?
Well, if the true self in me is the exact same Brahman that's in you, and in that tree, and in that dog, then harming another being becomes logically and spiritually impossible.
And Vivekananda really connected this vision to selfless action, right? He made it clear this wasn't just about withdrawing from the world into a cave.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He captured that application perfectly. He said, the moment I have realized God sitting in the temple of every human body, the moment I stand in reverence before every human being and see God in them, that moment I am free.
That's the transformation. The philosophical insight becomes your applied ethics.
It has to.
And Vivekananda, who is this great synthesizer, he insisted that even for the most analytical minds, Jnana Yoga should not stand alone.
No, not at all. He strongly advised that it should be balanced with the other 3 yogas. The head, jnana, needs to be balanced by the heart, which is bhakti or devotion.
And grounded by the hand.
Karma, selfless action. And of course, Raja Yoga offers the practical tools of concentration you need for nididhyasana. The 4 paths are meant to work together for complete integrated growth.
Ultimately, the entire journey really hinges on that one famous foundational statement from the sources, which basically serves as Vivekananda's mission statement for all of humanity.
It really does. Each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature, external and internal.
And the path of Jnana Yoga is the intellectual blueprint for manifesting that divinity through relentless self-inquiry and discrimination.
That's the path.
So we've traveled from ignorance, avidya, and the illusion of separation, maya, through this incredibly intense discipline, the sadhana chatushtaya, all the way to final knowledge, Jnana, to the unshakable realization that you, the wave, are eternally one with the ocean Brahman.
And this leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought directly related to this concept of liberation.
Mm.
The sources we've looked at state emphatically that moksha liberation is not about achieving something new that you didn't have before.
Right. It's about recognizing the truth of what has always been.
Exactly. So, if liberation is merely the recognition of an eternal truth, something already inside you, how does one distinguish
Distinguish between what?
between having a really clear, solid intellectual understanding of that non-dual concept
Like knowing it in your head.
and achieving the genuine, transformative, experiential realization that defines true freedom?
Right. Where is that line?
Where's the line between knowing of Brahman and knowing is Brahman?
That's a great question.
And that, well, that's something for you to mull over and to explore on your own.